Welcome back to Fantasy Football Today. I'm Jamie, that's Dave, that's Adam. We're talking about players that we like but don't necessarily love. Could be some tough matchups, could be some situations surrounding their teams, could just be some poor play recently for those guys, but we're still starting them anyway because, I don't know, maybe we're just not that smart. But let's get to the first guy that we're talking about here. And Adam, the guy for you is Michael Carter, coming off what has been a good stretch of games. Most of that has come with Mike White. Mike White is back under center for the Jets. But what's the concern? Is it the matchup against the Bills? Is it Mike White looking more downfield? Where are you coming out of this on Michael Carter heading into this matchup against Buffalo?
Well, you say, why are we starting these guys? For me, it's Michael Carter versus Brandon Bolden, and I'll have to start Michael Carter even if both Stevenson and Harris are out for the Patriots. I'll start Carter because I know at least he's the lead running back. But why am I nervous? Yeah, it's the matchup. They allow the fewest fantasy points to running backs. There have been 2 running backs all year that have more than 45 rushing yards against the Buffalo Bills. Both of them had more than 20 carries. That was Derrick Henry and Carlos Hyde. 1 running back all year that has more than 3 catches. So it's not even like the Bucs situation where running backs are catching a ton of passes against them. The Bills allow the 4th fewest receiving yards per game to running backs. So it is only a PPR thing for Michael Carter. Full PPR, you need the catches for Michael Carter. And I'm encouraged because Mike White has shown that he throws to running backs, but he threw 11 passes in their last game Thursday night against the Colts, and only 1 of them went to a running back. And I just wonder, I'm not going to make too big of a deal of it. I am going to sit there and start Michael Carter, but I wonder if after 2 weeks of him dinking and dunking to Johnson and Carter and Johnson and Carter, if finally a defense got smart and made him change his strategy a little bit. And plus, Ty Johnson is still a factor. If you don't get those catches from Michael Carter, you might have a terrible game.
And not only is Ty Johnson still a factor, but Tevin Coleman's expected back to whatever degree that Tevin Coleman plays. But I remember at this time last week being a little bit worried about how the Jets, well, not this time last week, but about 8-9 days ago, because they played on a shorter week, about whether or not the Colts would be able to shut down Michael Carter in the passing game because they had been good at it. And so I went to see, how's Buffalo been against running backs out of the backfield, and they've been great. As a matter of fact, if you just look since that game against Washington, when Antonio Gibson had that ridiculous 73-yard catch and run, Jamie talked about it earlier, that was an uncharacteristic play for this Bills defense. Since that game, 7.2 yards after catch per reception allowed to running backs, 7.1 yards per catch allowed to running backs. Those are still fairly high, but they're nowhere near what the year-to-date numbers are for Buffalo. They've gotten better at this. Tremaine Edmonds not expected to play. I think that'll end up helping the tight end in the Jets, Ryan Griffin, more so than Michael Carter. I'm nervous to start Michael Carter.
All right, Tremaine Edmonds already ruled out, so he's definitely not playing. So we'll see how things go there for the Bills defense. I think Michael Carter's still a good number 2 running back, as you guys have said, better in PPR than non-PPR. All right, TJ Hockenson, the next guy we're looking at here, and we know he's been up and down as a fantasy tight end, better in PPR than non-PPR. We know the Lions are not very good offensively. They're limited with their weapons. Who knows what Josh Reynolds does after joining the team this week. But, Dave, what's your concern about Hockenson taking on the Steelers?
Steelers have been good against covering tight ends. In half PPR leagues, they've allowed 8 or fewer points to a tight end in every game except 2 this year. Last week was one of them. Cole Kmet had a nice game. In week 2, both the Raiders tight ends did very well against them. So I'm downgrading Hockenson a little bit. I'm at a position with him where I know what his upside is, especially in PPR leagues, and so I just can't get away from using him. I'm not going to go and start Tyler Conklin off the waiver wire. Pat Freiermuth is a closer call, but I'm not willing to do that. Dan Arnold is kind of fun. I'd rather have TJ Hockenson. The one guy that maybe you would have considered starting over Hockenson is Dalton Schultz, but I think his playing time and his targets are going to go down now that Michael Gallup's back. Hockenson just not necessarily a safer start, but a tight end that's got potential to get me to 11 PPR points. Even against the Steelers, I think Hockenson can get there.
All right, and Cole Kmet just had a good game against them last week, so maybe that's something that the Lions can look at as well. And if you are, looking at maybe some replacements, Freiermuth, if he's still available, could be somebody you're looking at in trade. And obviously Noah Fant as well coming off the reserve COVID list. The Eagles are the worst team at stopping opposing tight ends, so maybe Fant has an opportunity in that matchup as well.